Jean M. Grant, and I'm going to be reading a scene from this book, 100 Breaths. Excuse my gravelly voice. So I'm going to set the scene for you here. It is 1263 Scotland. A Scottish lord's son, Simon, is hell-bent on revenge against the Norse Vikings for the harm they unleashed upon his clan. He kidnaps his enemy's daughter, a mystical healer named Gwyn, to not only force an alliance, but so that she can heal his ailing mother. Gwyn agrees to a marriage in turn for the safety of herself from her Viking betrothed and for the safety of her brother from their madman father. So this story is kind of like if you like The Last Kingdom or if you like Braveheart, it's a little bit of all of those. Labored steps brought Simon to Gwyn's bedchamber after his morning meal, once again eaten alone. She'd refused to come down. Simon released Henry from his post at her door with a nod. He expected a tossed chamber pot or cider jug. Instead, Gwyn sat at the window on a stool, her gaze lost in the distance across the loch. Not turning, she said, "I am your wife, and still I am guarded?" He had no more excuses. "What must I do to prove I won't flee? I signed your marriage contract. I said my vows." Her voice cracked on the words. He laid the tray of food he brought for her on the table and approached. He didn't touch her as much as he wanted to link his arm within hers as they'd done during their walks. He reached inside his tunic and withdrew her small, simple dagger. Unadorned with jewels or carvings, it possessed a bone hilt and a dull blade, likely from tree limbs, flowers, and household use. His smith had sharpened and cleaned it. Here, he placed it in her lap. Gwyn stared at it, her fingertips dancing butterfly wings hovering over the hilt. After a moment, she pulled it from its leather sheath. She rose and whirled at him, the dagger pointed out before her, barely pressing into his chest. He didn't retreat as he met her fiery gaze. "A smidge to the center, Gwyn, and you'll be square over my blackened heart." The heat blazing in her eyes lessened. "Do you wish to be a widow so soon?" He leaned in, feeling the pinch of dagger point on flesh. Hesitation flickered over her face. "I wish no longer to be a prisoner." "You've always been free. I've not shackled you in here." He lifted his shoulders, drawing his chest out. The dagger pricked more. Pain meant one was alive, didn't it? He wrapped his fingers around hers. "Do it." "You wish for death?" He didn't respond. She heaved a sigh and her hand loosened beneath his. She slid the dagger into its sheath and dropped it into her pocket. "Something pains you, more than your knee." He couldn't look at her. Shouts echoed up from the courtyard. They rushed to the window. A handful of men on horseback rode through the village and toward the bridge. His guards immediately ran out, assuming posts on the battlement and behind archer slits. "What is it?" "They're here for you." He spun to face her and wrapped an arm around her waist. He drew her close. She inhaled sharply. The thought of losing her to those bloodthirsty foreigners, to his sworn enemy, spurred a new purpose within him. "Hold fast to that dagger. I'll send Henry to guard you." "Gwyn, this is my doing. You've done your part, now let me do mine, I promise. I need you to stay here no matter what happens. Can you do that for me?" She nodded. Simon?" "Yes." "Don't kill him." Heavens, he dreamed of running her Norse betrothed through. He thought, "Woman, I'll try." Instead of responding, he threaded his hand through the length of her unkempt hair and found her neck again. He drew her to him and kissed her, for it might be their last. She kissed him back. She was the sun to his moon, the light to his darkness. After a moment, his eyes still closed, he held her close. He rested his forehead upon hers. Then, reluctantly, he let her go. "I will return." If things went awry, Henry knew exactly what to do to protect her. He licked his lips, wanting to remember the kiss.
Oh, that was